Former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch and two others have been arrested as part of a criminal sex trafficking investigation by the FBI. Mike Jeffries was accused in civil lawsuits filed in 2023 of sexually exploiting young men at parties he held with his partner. Jeffries is credited with turning Abercrombie and Fitch into a fashion powerhouse, but has come under criticism in the past few years on accusations of discrimination and over-sexualizing male models. Jeffries' attorney says he will respond to the allegations after the indictment is unsealed and when appropriate. ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer is joining me now for more on this. Brian, great to see you. We're expecting to hear more at a press conference around noon Eastern today. But what developments in the investigation do you think led to this arrest so many years later?
Absolutely, but first and foremost, as a disclosure, I have to say that I did work for Abercrombie's sister company, Hollister Co., as a model, both in terms of providing service for finding clothes. I was one of the people standing outside with less clothes than you usually see me now, interviewing people and talking to people who come in, and also I modeled for the bag. So I was not a part of this in any way, shape, or form, just kind of giving that disclosure. But in terms of coming next.
But while Jeffries was the CEO of one of the most recognizable clothing retailers in the world, he was using his power, his wealth, and his influence to traffic men for his own sexual pleasure and that of his romantic partner, Matthew Smith. The charging documents describe in graphic and disturbing detail the violent and exploitive acts these defendants perpetrated, for which they will now face justice in a court here in the Eastern District of New York. So here's what's alleged in the indictment. Jeffries and Smith employed James Jacobson to act as a recruiter to find men. Jacobson engaged in, quote, tryouts with men across the world where he would typically pay them to engage in sex acts with him. Following the tryouts with Jacobson, Smith would often then personally approve whether the men who were selected would meet Jeffries and Smith. The defendants would fly the selected men to Jeffries and Smith's homes in the Hamptons in New York City or to hotels around the world in such places as England, France, Italy, Morocco, and St. Bart's for the purpose of attending events to engage in commercial sex. Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson used force, fraud, and coercion to traffic those men for their own sexual gratification. For example, as alleged, the defendants employed a referral system and an interview process that did not inform the men of the details of the sex events before they attended, including the full extent and nature of the sexual activity that would be required of the men at these events. Smith and Jeffries employed a secret staff to operate these sex events. The staff ensured that the men signed non-disclosure agreements and handed over their personal items, such as their phones, before the start of the events to maintain the secrecy. Men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the sex events. And they required the presence of staff during the sexual activity and ensured that the men did not leave the sex events until Jeffries and Smith decided that the sessions were over. Also, as alleged, on more than one occasion, Jeffries and Smith either directed others to inject or personally injected men with an erection-inducing substance for the purpose of causing the men to engage in sex. Their sex trafficking and prostitution enterprise lasted at least from the end of 2008 until early 2015. During that period, the defendants hired dozens of men and transported them to New York and around the globe. They spent millions of dollars on a massive infrastructure to support this operation and maintain its secrecy.
Yo, 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 it's Big Ant, the spokesman, man. We back. Another edition of Urban Politicians TV, UPTV. Make sure you stay on your pivot at all times, man. Had to come tap in as it broke into the news. It was all over the internet and up and down the timeline today that the former CEO of ABERCOMBIE Fitch and his crew was out here living the Fitch name out into real life existence. It was doing it literally, as they say. They was pitching and catching, flipping and fetching and fitching on boards out here and using a corporate team, corporate enterprise, employees, and people to get them in a situation where they can bust boys' backs up. And this is what came out in this indictment today. Everything is still alleged as they are being charged with this 16 counts and everything like that. So we got to wait to see how everything gonna play out. But I had a link in the description where y'all can watch this in full at ABC. And I'm going to get into the write-up in just a second, as it is a few layers to break down here. Now, what they are saying, they use this entity. He is credited, the guy, him and his partner. And to my understanding, how I'm looking at it now, that him and this dude must be gay. Then they had a little assistant, allegedly, to go out there and get the workers and tell them this. But they saying they got coerced and finessed into coming to think they was looking for modeling jobs and opportunities. But in the end, they had a whole grand scheme and had their staff and using cash to finesse and play. And, hey, we're going to hit them with this. We're going to have them do this and do that and kind of run like a whole little secret enterprise thing that's off the radar to basically come in and get out these dudes sexually. Now, when I say it's several layers, I stand firm on this. Innocent till proven guilty for these guys. They got hit with some lawsuits as well and things like that themselves. But I need to see, I don't need to see the details. I don't want to see what happened in the videos, but I want to see like what y'all got to say about it, what y'all gonna put out. Because when it comes to this thing, it's no different from anybody else when it comes to men. And they got real victims out here that's been abused as kids, little ones, babies, and weird, sick stuff out there. Zero tolerance for it. Forcing a man to do something, beating a man down, drugging a man, knocking him out, putting a gun to him, that's that. But if I don't care if it was in the contract agreement or not, I'm just keeping it 1,000. If y'all pulled up on a nigga, he didn't tell y'all what it was, but y'all got there and y'all decided, hey man, I'm gonna use this opportunity after he told you what was finna go down, he made a pass at you, then you a volunteer, my nigga. You was not a victim, because it ain't never going to be a situation where I'm going to say, well, man, my job on the line, my career on the line, he just offered me a little thing, some little bread, he offered me some drugs. I'm going to just go and do it this one little time, but then I'm going to come back like, nah, bro, nah. It's death before dishonor, bro. If you standing on business, can't no man make you do nothing. You got to do that by choice. Now, they can finesse you on it, how to get you up in there, but at the end of the day, you made the decision to go all the way through with it. If that's what happened, we have to wait and see. Now, we see a lot of these things forming from these lawsuits that's been going on. The civil suits is what starts it off. Then the feds, this time, it's the Eastern District of New York, come back with these RICO and racketeering, as this one here has 16 counts. Former ABERCOMBIE Fitch CEO Mike Jeffries and 2 others were arrested Tuesday as a part of a criminal sex trafficking investigation by the FBI and federal prosecutors in Brooklyn. Jeffries, his partner Matt Smith, and the third man, Jim Jacobson, are accused of operating an international sex trafficking and prostitution business that recruited young men for parties in the U.S. and abroad, according to a 16-count indictment. Federal prosecutors said the trio allegedly paid dozens of men to travel around the world to engage in sex acts over at least a 7-year period, starting in late 2008. The indictment mentions 15 alleged victims identified as John Doe's numbers 1 through 15. Jeffries allegedly recruited, hired, and paid a slate of household staff to facilitate and supervise the sex events. Prosecutors and the FBI believe that there are many more victims and asked them to come forward. Jacobson allegedly traveled throughout the United States and internationally to recruit and interview men for the so-called sex events. According to prosecutors, during tryouts of potential candidates, Jacobson required that the candidates first engage in sex acts with him, prosecutors said. The indictment alleges that many of the men were coerced, led to believe that attending the events yield modeling opportunities with Abercrombie or otherwise benefit their careers, or in the alternative, that not complying with requests for certain acts during the sex events could harm their careers. The defendants are charged with sex trafficking and interstate prostitution. They are expected to make appearances in the jurisdictions where the men were arrested in Florida and Wisconsin before they're brought to Central Islip in Long Island, New York at a later date for arraignment. Now, I'm a nigga that ain't never even thought about, crossed my mind, or cared who owned Abercrombie and Fitch or Hollister, anything like that. I think I bought one Hollister t-shirt maybe like back in the day, but they always been in the mall. Nigga, look at the store. Maybe I bought some pants too, like back in the game where they had the like ripped up jeans or something, when that was a thing where they was cut up at the knees and faded and stuff. But I ain't never really been into that lane of fashion. But I do know they used to press the models with the brand and stuff like that. But to hear this was going on behind the scenes allegedly, that's that. I understand in the terms of what they trying to say. You're using your corporation, you're using your funds, and you're using your influence to basically legitimize and work a sex ring going on off the record, off the books. Prostitution is illegal in a lot of places, so that's one thing. But guys being forced and being told this and doing that, that's the thing. I'm like, okay, hit them with the prostitution stuff if that's what they want to do. But if you a dude that's taking the money, you taking the opportunity, and you go with the flow when a man offer you a sexual act for an opportunity, that's a choice, my nigga. I'm just keeping that all the way 1,000. There's a lot of victims that are out here. We not playing with that. We not disrespecting that. But as a man, can't no man force you to do nothing with the opportunity of saying, hey, bro, if you don't do this act for me sexually, you ain't finna have no career. I'm gonna hurt your career, or do this for me and I'm gonna get you in the door. That means you chose to do the gay for pay, my nigga. It is what it is. That's by choice, not by force. Forcing somebody is drugging them, beating them, whipping them, and putting a gun to their head and putting their life on the line. And then even if that happens, if it get to that point or something like that, it's supposed to only happen one time. If you go back for some more, that mean you a volunteer, my nigga. It's no way, shape, form, or fashion that is supposed to happen. But tell me what y'all think. Guess they said more people was coming down this pipeline after this Diddy stuff. We'll see what happens with this one. Everybody innocent until proven guilty. Tell me what y'all think. More coming, more videos, all that. 1,000 for shit show. Stay on your pivot.